Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Neighborhood Watch meeting for Rye Terrace and Primrose Lane. I'm Liz Nunez, and today I'm filling in for Gloria Kelly, Wellington's Neighborhood Watch liaison. Joining me tonight, we have our village manager, Jim Barnes, Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office Deputy Harper, Code Officer Helen Archer, and our Neighborhood Watch Captain, Tim Eichner. As a reminder, all attendees are on listen-only mode, and this meeting is being recorded. If you have any questions during the meeting, please submit them in the question and answer section, which is visible by tapping your screen on your mobile device or hovering your mouse over your screen if you're using a desktop or laptop. The icon will then appear on the top or bottom. We will answer all your questions at the conclusion of the presentation. Wellington currently has 22 active neighborhood watch groups. These watch groups serve a variety of functions within the community. Participation in an active watch group provides members with access to grant funding and neighborhood watch night out events that may not be available to neighbors without an active watch group, in addition to providing them with tools that support the safety of their community. We thank you for playing an active role in your community and hope you will continue to stay involved. And at this time, I'd like to introduce you to our village manager, Jim Barnes.
Thank you, Liz. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us this evening and taking time out of your schedule to get some updated information on what's happening not only in your immediate area and neighborhood, but also the rest of Wellington. Again, thanks for joining us. So just a couple brief words before we get to the actual more detailed information that all the other participants have for you guys this evening. Generally, just some updates. As you may or may not know at this point, generally this time over the summer, we are in the process of formulating and recommending our proposed budget to our village council. At this point, council has set the initial trim rate, which is the truth reporting in millage, which basically sets the cap at which we would be able to assess for property taxes. And coming up next week, we'll also be looking at the assessments for the utilities, solid waste, et cetera. But there's actually two real public hearings that occur in the month of September that will actually be the final votes required to approve that budget. And then correspondingly, our budget cycle starts October 1st. So I remind you that, certainly all the information that we present to our council is available and accessible online. And if you have any questions on how to additionally find that or need any additional information to specifically address anything that's in those proposals, feel free to reach out to any of the staff that you have contact with, whether through the Neighborhood Watch or just directly through our office here. If you reach 561-791-4000 and just ask for any of the departments or ask for the village manager's office, we'll be glad to take the time out and step you through that process. Otherwise, anything will be posted on the website at wellingtonfl.gov. One of the components together with that budget that you pretty much see the results throughout the year, and there's something happening pretty close by to your immediate area, is we do surface water projects, infrastructure projects to try and improve how well the village is able to, one, either provide services to the community or provide safety for the community, which a lot of times with the related surface water, particularly with the summer rainy season, it's more evident that a lot of effort, time, and capital dollars go into the maintenance and operation of our surface water management system. Easily said, our canals and related infrastructure to the canals. And one thing that you probably see nearby is the work happening, I believe, at the C3 canal area, where we're actually doing a culvert replacement and enlargement. The existing pipe under the road there, Wellington Terrace, not too far away from your neighborhood, is an existing 54-inch culvert pipe. And we're increasing the size of that to a 72-inch culvert pipe, which should increase the efficiency of the actual canal, which will be able to let the whole system, since most of our system is all interconnected, that a blockage in one area might provide for a localized problem, but sometimes, depending on what it's connected to, may provide for a larger area problem during a heavier storm event. So as we go through the entire village and step through these different improvements, it not only will help localize the drainage and surface water management issues, but in some cases actually improve drainage in a larger area within the basin. So that's a project that we're hoping, notwithstanding the fact that we've had probably more rain days than anticipated in this project schedule, hopefully we'll still be complete pretty close to the end of August. But I know some days with the amount of work going on there and the equipment and all the materials, it may not seem like we might make it, but at this point, the contractor is still hopeful, plus or minus a week, we'll be pretty close to the completion date at the end of August on that project. Similarly, if you've looked at what the council has discussed in the last few weeks and the last month or so, some discussion happened related to traffic along Wellington Trace, primarily a segment between that C3 canal that I just spoke of and Greenview Shores Boulevard. And while again, I understand this isn't directly in that neighborhood, but it does feed into it, and it is immediately in that vicinity. Something that might be coming back for council discussion and consideration in the future will be some traffic calming in that particular segment of Wellington Trace, given that, on one side of Wellington Trace beyond Greenview Shores Boulevard to the east is I believe a 40-mile-an-hour speed limit designation, and the area actually west of the canal is, and even though that's in the equestrian area, is I believe 30 or 35 miles an hour. That segment that I'm speaking of now between the canal and Greenview Shores Boulevard is actually designated at 25. So we have a little bit of a speed issue there. You may have noticed on Wellington Trace, we have some of the speed flashing signs that flash, and we actually, make some people feel like there's actually police presence there. It's a red and blue sign flashing lights that delineate what speed you're coming at. And so that was more of an effort. One, it helps us keep track of how the traveling public is traveling through there, whether it's close to the speed limit, above it, or below it. But more importantly, it also it serves as a traffic calming measure. So then the next step might be to actually consider some improvements in the roadway that would try and slow the traffic down. And primarily, I think what we're looking at from the traffic engineer's recommendations are possibly some narrowing of the roadway due to putting like a landscape improvement median there to just slow the traffic down a little bit. I don't believe we're looking or considering speed bumps or speed humps or anything like that, or speed tables. And similarly, we're not probably looking at any kind of rumble strips, because in a lot of cases, what we've seen is in most applications, once those are put in, probably within a couple of years of installation, many of the locations actually go back and either request to have them taken out, or we have a lot more issues and complaints based on the results of what happens between the noise. And really, in some cases, it only slows the traveling public down right at the speed bump, but then they speed up a little bit faster between speed humps to try and make up for lost time. So we're going to try a little different approach. But those are some things happening nearby. And generally speaking, the only thing, probably some other things worth considering is you might start two things. One, school is starting next week. So we ask everybody to please, be cognizant of, you've got students and parents either walking or riding their bikes to school. You've got kind of almost what I'll say, since it's been about 2 years since we've really had a full school year upon us, you're going to have a new traffic pattern at a lot of the school locations. There's something to be on the lookout for as you travel throughout the village. And lastly, is you'll probably start seeing some information on our website and also social media in the coming weeks and the coming months related to in the future, toward the end of the year, we will be switching solid waste providers. We've had Waste Management Incorporated for many, many years. And over the course of the last 6 months, we had to go through, since we're a public entity, we have to go through a bid process, and a new contractor has won that bid. And we'll be in the transition phase. And, as with all transitions, they're not always the smoothest, but we certainly are working very hard with both the new vendor and our existing staff as well as the current vendor, to try and ensure as smooth a transition as possible. And again, just like with everything else, our customer service team is ready to handle any questions, comments, calls, etc. And like I said, you'll be seeing on our social media channels as well as the website additional information and hopefully some tips and tricks on how to make that transition with a new vendor, as well as just getting up to speed again with the actual requirements for waste collection a lot easier. Other than that, I think, I'll be glad to answer any questions when Liz turns it back to the end of the session. But at this point, I'd like to turn it over to Deputy Harper.
Thank you, Mr. Barnes. I appreciate that. Good evening to everyone with our Rye Terrace and Primrose Lane neighborhood watch groups. The incident of significance this time is on the 16th of July. There was a residential burglary along the 1400 block of Wellington Trace, kind of that segments both neighborhoods. This involved a family. I believe the rear slider or one of the doors was left open, and as a result, someone entered. They were alerted because of their home surveillance system, saw someone they did not know in the residence, and subsequently, because of operations between units and other police investigative methods, that person was apprehended. We also know that there was some other activities involving this individual that led to some other action, but it didn't directly affect the neighborhood. This is another great reminder that besides locking up all valuables, vehicles in your home, also another stage of deterrent like your ring system or any other surveillance system can prove invaluable, as you see in this very case, which leads to an apprehensive. So this person is not at large. This is not a continued worry, and we haven't seen a repeat of that activity since that incident, since we have now entered in through August. There was also minor vandalisms and your regular, some deputy contacts with kids within Primrose Park. None of them really that resulted in arrest, just acute behavior seen on standard patrol that was modified or counseled by the deputy who made contact with the individuals there at that time. Other than that, the neighborhood's in fantastic shape, and I will also be primed for any questions that you might have on daily goings on or law enforcement questions in general. And with that, I will hand that back to Ms. Nunez.
Thank you so much, Deputy Harper. And now I will pass it along to your neighborhood watch captain, Mr. Eichner. You take the floor.
Thank you, Liz. Again, just an encouragement to be vigilant and to report any suspicious activity. Our group has done a great job of that overall, I think. We have had a lot of people move out of the community. So, it'd be great to get more people involved and to invite your neighbors to come out. I'm looking forward to the day when we will be back in person. And I don't know is there a date on that? Because I've had several people tell me that they won't attend online just because I think they're zoomed out and it's just not the same. I don't know if anyone has an answer to that, but I think that would be great to get back to in-person meetings because it just feels more like a community and it's outside, so it should be safe. I don't know if anyone can speak to that at this meeting, but I am go ahead.
Yeah, I can, Mr. Eichner. Unfortunately, with the current circumstance, any county or any government entity is going to have a large responsibility to the staff. And the direction with us is that you'll see that Palm Beach County Fire Rescue's all canceled any in-persons. And I'm sure that PBSO shortly will follow suit. Again, I know it can be inconvenient for some, but just considering the circumstances we're dealing with, we would like to avoid going all the way back to February or March of last year where everything was a no-fly zone. So we are just proceeding cautiously with the Zoom platform, which still allows us to have some interaction and disseminate information to you, but it's not very realistic anytime soon that will be a date resuming normalcy as far as in-persons until we know that it's responsible considering the circumstance at large is the easiest answer I can give you. And that's more of a day-to-day data as we're updated by the CDC and how things are progressing. And once we're not at the center of that issue, that's probably a more realistic time to look at that issue and have that conversation.
Okay. I think that's all I have.
Great. Okay. Well, now I want to take a look at some of the events that are coming up in Wellington in August and beyond. So I'm going to share my screen with you. We would like you to mark your calendars for August 11th because we have our Nile monitor and our iguana lizard seminar at 5 o'clock. This is the third in our series of educational community seminars. To register for this one and to watch some of our previous ones, if you missed it, visit wellingtonfl.gov/neighborhood watch. While you're on that page, you can also find Zoom meeting links for all our fall neighborhood watch meetings as well. And the current amphitheater schedule has been published on our website, and fall sports and programs are open for registration right now. Feel free to browse them online. And while you're there, please sign up for our new Play Wellington newsletter to stay up to date on the latest programming and events taking place in our village. Since we have no questions right now, I would just like to let everyone know that if you have any questions about anything we discussed during this meeting, or just any questions about getting active in your community that you heard in this presentation, please do not hesitate to contact us. On the screen, you'll see Deputy Harper's email address and Gloria, who again is your Neighborhood Watch liaison. So on behalf of Wellington's Community Watch program, thank you all for joining us this evening, and we hope you enjoyed this discussion and that you'll continue participating in our Neighborhood Watch programs and meetings, because together we can continue to keep Wellington a safe hometown. Thanks to everyone for coming, and thank you to all our panelists.
Liz, can I jump in again?
Absolutely.
I was under the impression that that we were going to talk about a few things tonight.
Go ahead, please ask away.
One of them being the Gloria had mentioned about watch signs being installed. In the past, our group had the consensus that posting watch signs in our neighborhood would appear like this was a high crime area, and they didn't want them. I don't know if that opinion has changed at all, but it's something that I could poll them on. The other thing was, I know that there has been some back and forth with code enforcement and about the trash dumping outside the quadplexes on Wellington Terrace. And I know that the last half year or so has been a little difficult with the late pickups and that kind of thing with bulk pickups, but we've been living here since 2004, and it's been an ongoing issue. Just I think due to the nature of the transient, residents there that are moving in, moving out. They don't really know the ordinances. I know education has gone into that, especially like the last couple of weeks. I've seen, orange flyers posted on the trash cans and that kind of thing. But I think long-term, it would be good for us to investigate some kind of, this is not the way to start out, but long-term, maybe a punitive thing with the landlords that they could pass on to their tenants as a safety deposit or whatever. But when people move out, they just leave a pile of junk outside and it's there for days. And personally, to be honest, I've actually just become used to it because it's been an issue for so long. And one of the neighbors that moved in keeps pointing out to me and sending me pictures about all the stuff along the roadside that sits there for days. And, I know it's been worse lately, but this has been an ongoing issue that hasn't really been resolved. Actually, I don't know how long you all been around, but Meredith Tuckwood, she was like two predecessors before Gloria. We were dealing it with her when she was here. So I don't see, you know, a quick fix to this, but maybe we could start a conversation about some education with the landlords, and then if things don't improve down the road, maybe there could be some punitive, you know, action, because it is kind of embarrassing when you have people coming to your house, you clean up your house, your yard's all nice, and then they drive through like just, it looks like a little bit of a junkyard to get here. So that, you know, for what it's worth, that's and it's, so a couple of people have brought it up to me, not just that one new neighbor. So it is an
It's,
overall.
Mr. Eichner, that's something that we are looking at in a couple of different ways, village-wide. As you know, having been here since '04, this isn't an isolated spot, but clearly it's probably tougher given the proximity of the multifamily location to the single family, but it happens in the single family locations as well. But it is something we're probably going to have to look at a closer handshake between public works and code compliance, given that in some cases, you know, there's no way around the issue unless there's an interim pickup, which isn't necessarily addressed by the waste hauler. It might be something that we end up having to do. I know if you worked with Meredith in the past, you know, a lot of times it is coincidentally, but not coincidentally, timed that when you have that renter transient population that ends up leaving, and basically the curb is loaded with whatever was not able to be left in the home, and if it doesn't fall in within a day or so or two of bulk pickup, yeah, you're screwed basically. You know, you end up having to look at it for basically a week. And in some cases where it actually became either a health issue or safety issue because the pile was just too large or too cumbersome, or it actually impacted traffic, our public works team have actually gone in there and picked it up with with our equipment rather than waiting for the hauler. But that's something we are looking at it in a couple of different ways. And some of the PSAs that will probably be rolling out with the new waste hauler, it will address some of that, where you know, it might be a little bit more efficient than the regular code process, because if we went through code, we'd still have to in some way, shape, or form follow that very cumbersome code time frame for noticing people and citing people. But you know, it's one of those things that this isn't like, you know, some bigger code issue or a dirty roof that could take some time. I mean, the trash is there; it either gets picked up or it doesn't. You know, so sometimes the code time frame doesn't work well with us. But in some cases, what the county has done, and we're looking at trying to parallel some of their approaches with garbage and waste in general, is that there is an ability to cite them, and in some cases allow for them. Some people are not necessarily looking to do the wrong thing; they just don't know how to get it handled. And if the waste hauler is working with us on that there's a way for them to pay the waste hauler directly to get it picked up off route type stuff. Or in some cases, it'll be the similar thing if somebody puts a pile that's too big, that now, you know, beyond what we would normally pick up as part of our route, it would have to get picked up. The timing is still going to be an issue that we have to work on, but so we loud and clear, we hear you, and it's an issue. And sometimes we just have to get a little more creative in how we address it. But it is an issue that we're aware of for sure. And it is an eyesore. There's no two ways about it. There's no two ways about it. So
Well, thanks for addressing that. I appreciate that. If we can continue work on that, that'd be great. And I do really appreciate the work that was done in the park. It looks great. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Mr. Agnew. Those are two great points. And to address your first comment about the neighborhood watch signs, Deputy Harper, do you have any information, anecdotal or otherwise, about the signs in his particular neighborhood? Or have you gotten any comments from other residents?
Not just yet. I know that some of the older ones that had the individual in the trench coat, top hat, and binoculars were phased out. So I know that there is a new rollout that has been there. I haven't gotten the minutia on that yet, the particular details. But if they're not particularly wanted in that area, that's something I can get together with on Miss Kelly when she's back to full duty, and we'll discuss that. I'll let her know your feelings on that, and we'll see if there's any way to avoid if there's new signs being rolled out for that location.
Great. Thank you very much, Deputy Harper. Mr. Eigner, do you have any more questions for us or comments?
No, that's all I have. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you for joining us. Thank you to all our panelists, and you all have a good night.